It's been just an absolute blast getting started here with early teal and dove in Nebraska. We've had beautiful weather. It's been nice and cool, anywhere in the 70s to 80s, no 100-degree days. It's been fantastic. We started off early teal. So our first group of clients actually was a group of clients. They come the first of every year, probably the best clients we've ever had. They'll always be our favorites probably. And they come in, they do a dove prairie dog combo. So they actually weren't hunting dove or teal, but we had Josh from Outdoor Limits, and he's a good buddy of ours. He's a YouTuber. He films a lot of stuff for us, content-wise, and we ended up doing a teal hunt. Opening day was fantastic. Me, Josh, and Sam went out to the Platte, hunted in the big blind on the river, shot our three-man limit of teal in about 45 minutes. It was really fantastic. It was nice and slow. It wasn't as quick-paced as some teal hunts, but it was nice and methodical to just take singles and pairs and all of that. And the clients went out, and they had some new shooters. Kenton brought his daughter and his daughter's boyfriend, and they hadn't done much shooting before, and they weren't the best shots, but they managed to clean up. The six of them managed to clean up 50 or 60 doves or something like that still, and had the time of their lives. And it kind of was off from there. I mean, they went on a prairie dog hunt that afternoon, put 500 rounds off of 223 into prairie dogs. Yeah, they had themselves an afternoon. Yeah, they just pulled dumping that trigger, and it was great, man. After that, though, it's just been all smooth sailing. They went on a pheasant hunt the next morning. I told you guys we're doing pheasants this year. We allowed them to kick up and kind of guinea pig a pheasant hunt for us with some of our birds that have been supplemented into our property. And they shot 20 or 30 or so pheasants. But also, for everyone who doesn't know, we have a controlled shooting area permit, which allows us to hunt pheasants in the state of Nebraska from September 1st until April 1st. And so we are within the legal bounds to be hunting pheasants. I know some people are like, pheasant season doesn't start till November or October or whatever. Probably gonna put that out there ahead of time. But no, that's been
Disclaimer.
fantastic, man. It's been great, and we made our way. Like I said, they've been doing some dove hunting. They shot their, I don't know, I think they shot 95 or something that next night, and then the next morning they killed a 8-man limit 120. So it was pretty good season. We've had a nice gap now. We have a 3 or 4 day gap from their group till the next group comes in here this weekend. So boys have been out, like I said, with Josh doing some filming. We've already got 520, 540 doves on the ground, and probably about 60 teal in this first 5 day stint of the season. So you really couldn't ask for much better. I suppose the only thing I could ask for is a little more water. We don't got a lot of that for teal right now, but thankfully we only got one more teal group coming in, so it's off to that, and then everything else is dove and prairie dog. So
Dude,
take take
your dove season sounds so nice being in the 70s and 80s.
now
Dove in
now
West
yeah.
Texas it's hot.
I
Like
will
yours
say,
is so much more comfortable.
hold on to your belt for that though, because next week I got 96 degrees for like 3 days coming in.
Okay.
So it's we're just in a cooler part of the weather pattern at that. We just got
Yeah.
lucky. I mean, I've gone dove hunting when it's 102 outside plus
Okay.
humidity, and
Okay.
you'll stick to a tree, man. It's nothing special. Like the
Gotcha.
dove hunting, the weather's nothing special, I should say. The dove hunting though, man, it's a little bit different.
I saw y'all's reel on Instagram. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
wild, dude. Like they were
yeah.
everywhere. That was insane.
Josh Josh filmed that for us. That's the cut cornfield. They shot that. They actually shot an 8-man limit out of that on Wednesday, and then they shot another 8-man limit Thursday night out of it too. And both took about 45 minutes in that same
Golly.
cornfield.
So, well, sorry for
No,
cutting
you
you
go.
off, but
No,
the group that you've had, how many is this their third year in a row, fourth year in a row?
third year in a row. We've already got their
Okay.
date penciled in for next year. Coming back first to the third of next year. Every year they're
Wait.
we met them when we first started doing the all-inclusive lodge with the meals and everything. They were our first
Yeah.
group of the year. It just so happened that they picked that date. They were the guinea pig group the first year. They were the one that experienced the fuck up. There's some fuck ups that happened in that first year. I mean, everybody knows it. I mean, it's not. No one's going to beat around the bush here and say that your first client group of your first full-time guiding experience is going to go 100% perfect. But they were, very nice, very respectful about it. Obviously, some things didn't exactly fold the way it should have, but they had a great experience. We were able to make everything matter with the stuff that we were able to do at our lodge and how we were able to amplify their experience outside of the hunt. And yeah, they sure enough, they came back, and now they've kind of every year it's kind of a step back where we can all talk and go, well, look how far we've come from last year to now, and then from the first year to now too. And it's pretty fun. It's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I bet, dude. So since they went to the first lodge, they got to experience that 2 years in a row. So now, new lodge, how'd they enjoy that? What was their feedback on that?
So I wasn't there for like the original, for like when they first got the tour and showed up, but I got there a couple hours later, and they were still shell shocked. They were touring the shop actually when I pulled up 2 hours after they got there. They were just all standing around in the shop talking, and they were looking at our side by side and all the decoys that we already got in and stuff like that, and just kind of taking it all in. And Kenton is the main man of that group. He's the one that's been booking the hunts with us. And he just brings different members of his family every year in his group of six and good friends and stuff like that. And I walked up to Kenton that afternoon and I said, Kenton, obviously shook his hand, said, good to see you again. But I said, what do you think? This is pretty different, isn't it? And he said, man, I don't even know what to say. This is phenomenal. He
Awesome.
had nothing but the highest remarks about it. And so
That's cool. That's awesome. I'm sure that's a great feeling too, getting from a client that's been from when y'all started to now, just hearing the positive raw feedback on that. All right. Well, it sounds like the experience so far has been good for the season. Clients, good hunts, good weather, and the lodge has been great. I did want to hear if there's been any unique challenges now that you do have the new lodge and you have new people on your team this year. Have y'all had, and honestly, just coming out of the off season, like there's probably hiccups, there's rust to be knocked off when you come into this. Has there been anything like that so far?
of course. I mean, you just
Of course.
shit never goes easy, man. I'll tell you what. So the biggest thing that we actually learned is like as the group of us eight now, that's going to be going forward as our company. We all hang out and have a certain way that we bullshit, right? We all talk and we all like together in our group, we all talk about the same, but like the way we talk and the things we talk about and stuff like that, it's not necessarily the most, it's not always appropriate to talk in front of your clients. And so the
Mm,
very first night, the thing that we ran into is we were starting to delve into some of our other conversations about plans on this next weekend and some stuff like that that we really probably shouldn't have been talking about
mm,
just because it's just not as professional as we should be as a business. And so that was one thing that we did. Hey guys, remember, I had to actually stop and talk to everybody the next morning and go, hey guys, remember, we're in season now. Like we need to make sure we have, obviously a lot of our clients cuss, a lot of our clients, they make a lot of jokes about everything you could think of. And like,
mm,
you just kind of feel your client group out and you can work with them as it comes. And these guys, they're the same way. I mean, they literally don't really care about anything. That's why it wasn't
mm,
an issue. They made the same jokes that we were making, but it's like, hold on a second, tread water there a little bit though, back up. Like, we don't need to necessarily start that kind of conversation. If we're in it, it's fine, but we don't need to be starting it. That was one thing, that one of the hiccups, which like I said, we sorted that out in the first 2 hours of the next morning. One text to our group chat and everybody was on the same page and it was good to go. And that other part, it was just kind of working out the kinks in our system with our employees. Like as a whole, as a company, the owners know what they're supposed to do every day. And like
yeah.
Sam knows he's in charge of Joe and James, who are our two employees before Caleb and Quentin came on. But with Caleb and Quentin now, it's just, it's kind of honestly comes back on me where it's like, these people need stuff to do every day and they're not just going to go out and figure it out. You know what I mean? They're not just going to
Mm,
go and say, hey, I'm going to do this, because that's not their job. Their job's to be told, hey, to go do this kind of stuff. And it didn't take long for us to find out that it wasn't necessarily, no one was really telling them what to do. So we had a couple of days where they just really didn't do much work. And it was like,
mm,
man, I need to step back. Honestly, what I needed to do, it was my fault because I jumped into the field so fast. Hunting season, right?
mm.
You
Yeah.
get there, you want to
Yeah.
hunt, hunt, hunt. So what I do, I hopped into the field. I hunted morning, evening, and then I took off to go scouting for teal up in the Sandhills and ended up in South Dakota. And next thing I knew, we didn't have plans. I stepped away from the office for 2 days and focused on hunting, and we kind of slowed down. We kind of regressed, and I needed to stop, take a second, and kind of approach the situation again and step back in and go, okay, as the manager, as the CEO, this is what all needs to be done. Break those tasks down, assign them amongst the employees, and build a calendar. And so that's kind of what I've been doing these last couple of days, is creating a system of checks and balances with to-do lists and tasks and everything like that to make sure the employees know what to do and have stuff to do and make the most of their time.
Yeah. I like that. So what are you going to do? I know you said you're going to, like, you're taking these few days. So like you had mentioned something to me off podcast, off air. the other week, I think, on how you're going to like kind of separate yourself from the group so that you can focus on that heads down time.
Hmm.
What
So,
exactly was your plan?
okay. So I just started dating this girl up in South Dakota, and it just so happens that about 2.5 hours away from Kearney, and it's a place that I can go up to. I've got my own office set up there, and I've got a space up there. So it's gonna where it's gonna happen is that I'll have 2 or 3 days a week where I'll go up there and hang out with her, and I'll just have office days where I'm strictly working on the computer on management tasks, finances, and the marketing, like pushing this company forward. And like the kind of the back end stuff. That way, when I come back to Kearney, if I'm getting drug around hunting, cooking, hanging out with clients, doing whatever, I'm not getting drugged down and the company's not falling behind. And it's in a way it's the kind of a best of both worlds situation for me. Obviously, get to spend the evenings after work with the girlfriend, but until then, you get to get all the other stuff done. And doing that system, it sounds weird, but I found almost more productivity doing that than I have from being here in Kearney because there's no way to drag me away from what I'm doing. Justin just can't walk into my room and go, "Hey, I need help. Get out of your office," and drag me out of the office. And next thing I know, I'm piddle fucking around for 2 hours doing other shit that I really don't necessarily need to be doing. And so that new system, though, culminating all that together, it allows me to have the space I need to get the work that I need done. And the whole company is really benefiting from that in a oddly well. It's doing oddly well from all of that situation. So that's kind of how we've been taking it, spending 3 or 4 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week doing office days up there, and the rest of my time down here. If I get drug around hunting or filming or doing whatever, it's not that big of a deal.
I think that's good too, that you like realize you need to get that space and like you set up those boundaries so that you could go and do that. Cause I know like there might be like, hey man, I need your help with this, but there's also like, hey man, you want to go hunt and go do this.
Hmm.
But now you can't
Exactly.
because you're 2 hours away. So I
It's
think that's
weird.
awesome.
It's weird, but yeah, it's weird, but it
Yeah,
works.
I'm sure. But dude, I mean, you're just doing what you got to do to make it, like company successful. Everyone know what they need to be doing. And then all the behind the scenes work that still has to get done, even if clients are coming in and it's hunting season, it still has
Hmm.
to be executed on. And so someone to sacrifice and kind of put aside their time of getting to go out and go in the field. I mean, you can do nothing but commend that. I wanted to get more into like the amenity. I know you got the new lodge. I wanted to get more into like the amenity side and like what outfitters can be doing. But first, one of the biggest amenities with lodging, I think, and like kind of one of those special touches is just the food, like in general. Like
Hmm.
I've heard so many complaints about people go on this all inclusive hunt and then they get a freaking hot dog or something like that as their
Hmm.
meal. And there's nothing wrong with hot dogs. Like if you request that, great. But I do want to hear more about what y'all's like kind of experiences for your guest when they come out there at the new lodge. Do you have a chef on hand now or on staff, or is there someone who's assigned to that kind of thing?
So Quentin is assigned to be our chef. That is his primary job. But the biggest thing that with meals is it doesn't take it just takes a little bit of cooking technique to step above the norm. And
Mm,
most of these clients that come out, most people in general, not even just clients, most people in the world, a little bit of technique and a little bit of skill in the kitchen, it'll make you seem like a five-star restaurant. The way you pronounce some of the words, like we say we do a slow, sweet smoked barbecue spiced chicken breast. And
Beautiful.
it sounds beautiful, right? It's literally just a mixture of spices put on a fucking chicken breast and grilled slow smoked at 250 to fully cooked. I mean, it's nothing above fancy, but it sounds fancy. And when they're eating it, they think about the way it sounds and it makes a difference. But then on the other side of things, like for example, every night we like to do a bread, like an appetizer bread kind of thing. We do rolls or we'll do loaf bread or occasionally we'll do like breadsticks, stuff like that. I make a different butter every night to go with the bread. So like the first night I do a garlic cinnamon butter, or not a garlic cinnamon, sweet cinnamon butter, kind of like Texas Roadhouse, powdered sugar, cinnamon,
Yeah.
whatever. You whip all that up, put it on a Hawaiian roll. It's the best thing you've ever eaten, right? It's pretty
Right.
damn good. And then the next night I'll do a garlic herb butter, just garlic, parsley, thyme, rosemary, oregano, salt, pepper, a couple sticks of butter, a little bit of lemon juice, and it'll make this kind of herby, garlicky flavored butter. And like I said, you put that on a piece of sourdough, like it'll fuck your life up. It's good.
No, I didn't know that didn't sound good at first.
Dude,
Yeah,
Your
I
life
am
up. I know. Me too. Me too.
but like that's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And like the next night I do a cowboy butter, which is you make it's same kind of concept. You do garlic, paprika, some pepper, some cayenne, a little bit of herbs, rosemary, oregano, mix it all together, and it has a little kick to it. It kind of comes up from behind, a little bit of spice to the butter, and you put that on. We do like a marble rye or a multi-grain or something. You put that on, and I mean it's not like it takes long to make. The butter itself takes all 20 minutes to make, 10 minutes to make. And that includes thawing the butter, or like getting the butter softened. I mean, it's not a complicated process, but like that little bit is that little step up you can make, like in just that part. It makes everything 10 times better. It makes the meal seem that much more professional. Another huge thing we'll do is we do Nebraska sweet corn. Like that's our huge thing. I'm sure some of
Mm.
you guys have seen on our Instagram and our socials. We did like 550 bags of corn this year. We put it up ourselves. Like we harvested the corn. We have some of it's from our garden and some of it's from a good buddy of ours. It's a farmer. We buy the corn from him and go out and get it all ourselves, pick it all ourselves, dump trail, put it all in our dump trailer. And then we shuck it, cut it off the cob, put it up, boil it, shuck it, boil it, cut it off the cob, put it up in the freezer, and it's that much better. I mean, it's just another way to take another step to being professional, to doing better. And it's not complicated.
Yeah, well,
Gotcha.
just to be able to explain, like, yeah, this is something that we deliberately did, like went out and shucked the corn
Shuck
yourself.
corn.
Like that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
I'm beyond amazed at this point. Like
Yeah.
it's very creative and it's also simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. We aren't chefs. Like, I'm a good cook. I like to think that, right? But I'm no chef. None of us are no actual chef. Like,
Mm.
no one went to culinary school. No one did any of that. But it doesn't necessarily take that to be able to provide something that's a step up to their normal day in the life meals. And it's, another great thing we do, another great example, all of our meat we do is locally sourced. We have a butcher shop in Minden, Nebraska, a Midwest meat company in Minden. They are about 15
Cool.
minutes, 20 minutes from Kearney. They are doing all of our meat this year, chicken, pork, steak, all of it. They do barbecue.
Sweet.
We have their barbecue. They make breakfast pizzas. They make regular pizzas. I mean, they home make everything with Nebraska beef, Nebraska pork, Nebraska chicken. And so that's like one other thing is we can say all this is locally sourced. And it's small. It doesn't really make a huge difference, but being able to have that is a bigger difference with the words than it is necessarily with the taste and the flavor.
And when you locally source it and you go to like an actual butcher, are you saving money by buying in bulk or anything like that?
No, we're losing money. I mean, we'll spend $30,000 this year on just meat, probably. It costs more to get it local and to do it like that because that obviously local's not going to be as cheap as it would be in Walmart, right, or in Hy-Vee or something. But it's also better quality meat. You're getting what you pay for, so it's worth it. It's worth it to us.
Yeah, it's worth making that sacrifice, even if you think it's just like the words that you're saying. I mean, I think they see the effort too that goes behind the words. Like you can't. You're going and like putting in the effort to do that. So when you serve that sweet corn, do you tell them y'all go and like shuck this? Like, hey, we shucked this corn.
I tell them, say, hey, go look in that freezer in the storage room. Go look in that freezer. It's a chest freezer, 14 cubic foot freezer, top to bottom in sweet corn bags. That's all it is. It took us. We started the day we did it. We started at 8 a.m. and we went until 3 a.m. We did 1,200 ears of corn. Yeah.
Going back to the roots.
Yeah.
Bro, you should invite us up there next year when you do that, and we'll just get a whole team to come up and shuck corn with y'all or something. Just for the
free labor.
For the experience. Yeah.
There you go.
Labor. Yeah. So Mallard Bay can give back. All right. So one question on that. So we got outfitters that, wouldn't consider themselves good chefs, and maybe their guides aren't considered good chefs. But I think really with technology, anyone could find a recipe and cook it. How'd you find these things? Like, are you up on Pinterest? My wife's always on Pinterest. Is that like what y'all did?
So for me, a lot of it was I just have I love cooking. Like that's something, it's a big hobby for me. It's something that I'm just big into. And so I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I still watch YouTube videos, just a lot of reading online, recipe books, stuff like that. But that's kind of how I found the recipes. And then as time's kind of gone on, we've kind of adjusted them to fit our company and our needs. If maybe we don't like one of the flavors as much, we'll take that out and add in a little bit more of another one, or so on and so forth. But it's just kind of something we've developed over time, find what seasonings that work and stuff like that. It's not necessarily the recipes that make our food as good as I would call it to be. It's more the technique that you use to cook it.
Gotcha. One last question on the food. I've probably asked too many questions about food at this point, but have you ever cooked anything and it was like the first time and the last time because clients absolutely hated it?
Nothing that was like once and done. We had a chicken pasta that we used to make, and
I've had that from y'all.
It's a damn good pasta. It's a damn good pasta, but you make it in a crock pot, and it just don't look professional when the clients come home and their meal's in a crock pot. So we just don't. We went away from that strictly because it's not because it didn't taste good, but because we want to really nail home the home cooked aspect of everything.
I think that's a great point. I'm glad I asked. No crock pots, outfitters. Well, cool. Okay, I wanted to hear more on the pheasant hunt, kind of how that went, and I would almost consider that. I know it's a hunt and it's a package for people, but it's almost like an added-on amenity in my eyes for these guys. Like let's say you got bad weather, the birds just aren't working in the morning, and you don't have a good hunt, but now you have this secondary amenity that you can throw towards them to get them out in the field and have a successful hunt. Like, how'd it go? And are you excited for the season with what you're going to be able to do with it?
Yeah, it went fantastic, actually. Our two new dogs, that was the biggest hurdle. We have Platt, obviously. He's just about a year old, and Willow's about just a year old, maybe about 13 months. She's young. Both them dogs are young. They're not, they're not 100% ready. I shouldn't say 100% ready. They're not 100% matured, obviously. And that was nerve-wracking to see how they would do once, we can replicate clients as much as you want. We can put 10 of our guys in the field, and it's just still not going to be the same as when you have random clients in the field with them. And the dogs excelled. They did amazing. Willow's a pointing lab. It sounds weird, I know, but yeah, you wouldn't think it exists, but it exists. It's a pointing lab. So Willow would point the pheasants, and Platt would flush them, and then Platt usually retrieved them. Platt usually beats her out on it, the whole thing, but it went fantastic, man. It went way better than expected. And then having that option to go, hey guys, duck hunting sucked, but I got this property out here. We got pheasants on it. You guys want to go walk, see if we can't kick up a few? Like, having that option to be able to do that, game changing. Because if something happens, you always have a fallback to just make the experience that much better.
I've never heard of a pointing lab, but that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I didn't believe it either when he told me about her.
No, that's cool. So with the new lodge, one, I enjoyed just hanging out at y'all's old lodge. It was always a good time. There was always football on, or a fight or something like that kept people entertained. And then, of course, y'all are hanging out there at the pool table, stuff like that. What kind of amenities do y'all have at this new lodge that clients can look forward to coming in, just kind of hanging out there?
So with us stepping into running doubles this year and being able to sleep 15 people in our lodge, obviously that's a lot of space. That's a lot of people. You got to be able to entertain a lot. So the basement alone, we've got a game area set up. I've got a poker table that can seat 8. I think I've got a couple thousand poker chips, a bunch of cards, stuff like that. So we could have a whole poker game going on. We got a new Olhausen pool table down there. Really nice pool table we got put in. Then I've actually got a putting green, and I've even got a little chipping mat for golfers who want to play some golf while they're down there practicing on there. Then I've got a TV, pretty big seating area in the basement, and then upstairs, obviously, you've got the 2 dining tables that can seat. I think we can seat 17 or 15 or something like that at the dining tables, and then we've got a pretty large couch up there with 2 different TVs upstairs, so you can watch 2 different games at one time. And then out on our back deck, I've got a 8-seater, 6-seater table with outdoor seating and stuff like that for anybody who wants to sit outside and enjoy that. And then obviously the massive yard and plenty of space in the bedrooms too.
Sweet. That's awesome. Okay. How does one, like an outfitter, handle, because obviously you had to figure out what clients enjoy having there, and some of it's just like straight common sense, but then there's also client feedback. How do you handle client feedback and like applying it to, because like sometimes clients will just say off the wall stuff that you should do that's just not realistic, but like how do you handle getting client feedback so that you can make changes to your lodge?
So one thing that we do, which I would encourage every outfitter to do, is I
Mm,
have a Google form. It
mm,
asks 12, 13 questions that I send to every single group that they can fill out after their trip, after they're gone. Like they're not around us anymore. They have their own time to talk and all of that completely. It asks how the trip was, how the hunt was, how the guides treated them, how the calling was, how the experience was, how the hunting was, how the lodge was, the meals, all of that. And then a couple of the big things was, what was your favorite part about the lodge? What was your least favorite? If you could change one thing, what would it be? And then it has another section for like any other comments, any extra feedback. And we compile all of that based on what the clients say. And that's kind of how we figure out what, 5 different clients are telling us we need more TVs, then we probably need more TVs. But, obviously there's going to be some outliers. There'll be some people that just want to bitch and stuff like that. So you have to know what the difference is between like real feedback and just whining and complaining,
right.
I suppose. But
Yeah.
that's
That
been
makes
real
sense.
helpful for us.
Oh, dude, I think it's super smart. Like to your point of like saying, hey, every outfitter, you should be doing this. Like, yes, every outfitter should be doing that. That is genius. Being able to get that feedback, store it so that you can always go back and look at it too. Do you ever like review those from last year? So like if you're going to have a client come in and it might not, or maybe you just started doing this last year, so they haven't came back yet, but like, do you plan to look at what their feedback was last year before that group gets here and like let your team know like, hey, this was their experience last year, let's try to keep it here, or let's work on this little specific part?
Yeah, so we implemented all of this. It would have been middle of season last year, so we haven't had any
Okay.
rebooks come in yet. But yes, the
Okay.
plan is to kind of those guys who are coming back year after year to
Mm-hmm.
kind of review their sheet every year and make sure, obviously, you don't want anything to reappear on the sheet that shouldn't have been there,
Yeah.
clearly. But it's we have like our first or our first group of the year. If you could change anything, what would it be? The answer was nothing. So
Oh, cool.
that it's always great when you get those kind of responses. But yeah, the plans to review, look in, and kind of develop ourselves based on the responses from the previous year to the current year, and just make sure nothing's sticking around.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, super smart, man. Super smart. And honestly, that's how an outfitter like you at your age starts to separate yourself from the pack, is doing stuff like that. The next thing is really, it's kind of a shift in topics, but like you said, your clients came in and they enjoyed their trip. And one of the biggest things for y'all and outfitters is retaining that repeat book of clients, keeping them
Mhm.
coming back, because then you're spending less the next year to fill up your extra dates. I know, like adding on pheasants and stuff like that, you still got to run ads to fill those books up. But I wanted to hear about your rebooking process, because that's something I've noticed in the industry is like it's not like, it's kind of a gray area on how outfitters do things. They all do it a little differently. Do y'all
Mhm.
technically like open your books so that you can receive a deposit through the GuideTech software for next season at some point in this season? Do you do that? Or are you just kind of penciling them in and reaching back out to them?
It depends on the client. If the client's ready to pay, yeah, we'll take your money for the next season. We'll pin you in, unless it's a date. If it's a date where like the season could change, like teal season.
Mm,
Teal season wasn't supposed to start on the 1st this year, but it did. If it's
mm,
something like that that could change, we'll take you the deposit and say, okay, you guys have first pick if something has to get moved around. And we obviously those are kind of some outside scenarios that we really don't have issues with, but most of like the middle of the season days and stuff like that, where a lot of the rebookings are, you just you
mhm.
will take the money on the spot if they're willing to pay. But most groups don't have $7,000-$10,000 on hand right then and
Just
there to put
with them.
down for their group. So, most of the time we'll pencil them in and say, all right, February 1st our books are opening. You have 10 days to pay after that, or your date's open.
Okay, cool. I like that.
So,
Um,
but
do you do anything like in lodge? Like, is there any kind of communication or anything like? And it's okay if you don't, but like, is there any kind of communication y'all do to talk to them? One, about rebooking, but two, like different experiences. Because I know y'all are offering turkey hunting. So like, are y'all talking
yeah.
about your turkey hunts and trying to get them to book that while they're in your lodge and having a great time?
Yeah, so yes, we do. But first, I want to kind of flip this back. Logan, I'll go to
Okay.
you. You traveled a lot last year with Wyatt, right? Doing all of that, going to a lot of these different outfitters. You were there with client groups, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you experience with outfitters trying to push the rebookings? Were the owners, were the big names of the outfitters, were they there most nights talking to the clients, trying to push them? Were they not? Were they pushing rebookings? What were you experiencing?
Honestly, I think it was just kind of like this unspoken hope that they would come back next year, and it
Mm.
wasn't really a deliberate strategy on really any front. I think that was something that I noticed is like potential like lost opportunity. I think that checking in with the clients, especially like not just like how your experience is today, but like, hey, like what do you guys think about next year? Really just kind of like opening the door for the conversation. And if it was happening at all, it was kind of happening like a little too late almost. It's like, okay, they're like about to leave on the last day and it's like, oh, hope to see you again next year. Right. And obviously you're going to do that, but there wasn't anything prefacing that or any kind of like deliberate intentional activity. So, I mean, I think it's an opportunity where you kind of got to play it by ear, but it is a missed opportunity for most outfitters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
See, that's why I was asking you that before I fully answered, is because, and I've only been to a few outfitters, so this is by no means pulling everybody out of the same area. I'm not trying to batch anybody together, but a lot of outfitters, they don't necessarily spend that kind of time on that kind of effort on those rebookings. A lot of them don't
Mhm.
put the right people at the lodge at the right time to do the right things. Now, granted, there are plenty of them that do, so like there's obviously no bad blood between all of that, but what we do is we have 4 owners, right? Every single night, one of the 4 owners is going to be at that lodge talking to our clients. They're going to be there start to finish at dinner, before dinner,
Hmm.
all the way until the clients are until to 8, 9, 10 o'clock when the clients are getting ready to kick it for the night. And the second we don't push the rebookings unless if we bang them up the first day, we'll be like, hey, remember this date's open next year, kind of thing, or something mild. But usually it's more of a joking manner to kind of get the
Yeah.
response from the clients. And then but the second one of the clients goes, man, this would be a lot of fun to do in December, or man, this would be great to do in November, or turkey season, it could be awesome up here, or whatever. All of a sudden, it's like a switch flips in our heads as the 4 owners. It's like, all right, they're interested. Let's go catch them, reel them in. Let's do
Mhm.
this. And so now, obviously, you don't want to be pushy. You don't just go, hey man, I heard you talking about it. Let me get that credit card, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you got to ease into things. You talk about it, and more importantly, highlight the experience in the other aspects. Highlight what, if they're looking for a hunt in December, be like, hey man, I heard you talking about December. I know you're thinking about looking at that date. Look at these photos. Look at this video. That's this date last year. This date's open. You can take that. I'll pencil you in today, and you can pay in February, and we're good. And pushing that rebooking and walking that fine line of, you can't be too pushy. Obviously, you can't overly step into that. But above all, being there every single day, having an owner there every single day to talk to these clients that can push these rebookings, that could take a card if need be. I mean, that's end all be all, the best thing we've ever done.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's got to be a deliberate strategy behind it, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're not thinking about it, then it's a lost opportunity. But if you're thinking about it and you have a way of kind of talking with your guides about it, it's like, hey, like keep an eye out or, keep your ear to the ground for clients saying things about coming back next year. And let's bring those things up so that way we can capitalize on it.
Yeah. And Hunter, I mean, well, one thing before I go into that question is like, I think some of these outfitters, their deliberate approach is like, hey, I'm just going to go and build these relationships with these dudes. I'm going to sit in the lodge and talk to them constantly and just become their best friend. And they're going to come back. So I think like that might be some of these guys' approaches, but I do think there's still room for being not pushy, but just incentivizing them through communication to come and go on a different experience or book the same date next year, another date. So I think you're right, Hunter, in your approach. In your form, though, do you ask them, like, would you hunt again next? Would you book the same dates next year? Or would you hunt with us again? Or would you refer us to somebody else? Is that a question that you ask?
Actually, it's not. We thought about it, and the reason we left that out is just because usually we've kind of already got that answer by then.
Hmm.
But it's kind of something where it just depends. I mean, I personally, it is kind of, honestly, it was something amongst the group that was kind of 50-50, wishy-washy. half the group kind of was for it, half the group kind of wasn't. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it did make its way in at some point here, but as of right now, it's not.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so one last thing for me is the clients that say, yes, I'll rebook next year, maybe it just doesn't get brought up. What is y'all's approach to, like, what time of year are you reaching out to your clients after the season to start discussing rebooking with them? I know you told them, like, hey, here's your window, your 7 or 10 day window to book your dates. But like, when do you start doing that, and how do y'all do that?
So our rebookings typically start on February 1st. We start calling in January, our wait list, because usually all of our duck goose rebookings are over as soon as duck goose season's over, clearly. So we'll start calling our wait list for duck and goose season in January. And the wait list will say, hey, I've got these dates available. I know you're looking at them. Do you want to get any of these? Pencil them all down, right? And then February 1st, it's like, all right, guys, I've got 250 clients penciled in. Y'all all have 10 days to pay, and we're going to start calling all of our new leads and all of our ads and all of that starts back up. And if you don't pay in 10 days, those dates become public, and I've got people waiting on them. And that's kind of how things have been rolling, at least for duck, goose, teal, dove. Goose, snow goose, and turkey, that if they want to rebook snow goose, or turkey, they can rebook on the spot, and they pay right then and there. And if they can't pay, we'll give them a 30-day grace period. Or usually everybody's just paid, so we really haven't used the 30-day grace period. But with season coming back around so fast, once you get up into the spring, and especially late spring like turkeys, you're off. I mean, we're already booked. Hell, our duck goose season's usually half full, 3/4 full by the time turkey season even starts.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, one question that we found pretty helpful. It's kind of like, I guess, a tech company industry standard, but it's called a net promoter score. It's basically how likely would you be to refer a friend, out of 1 to 10, right? And so anybody that clicks a 9 or a 10 is what you call a promoter. Anybody that's a 7 or 8 is what you call neutral, and then everybody else is like a detractor. But it's a quantifiable way to measure, okay, like if they're willing to refer a friend in a 10 or a 9, right, then that's good news, right? It's like referrals could be a way to drive additional business. So something to think about to add. But overall, I mean, just the fact that you're doing anything related to customer feedback is far and beyond most outfitters, because a lot of them don't want to hear the feedback. They are kind of prideful. And once you set that aside and realize, you've only got opportunity, you've only got so much opportunity to grow and get better, right? You might as well take that now rather than when it's too late.
Yeah, and I think that the referral thing, like you said, I think that would be very important for us to add, maybe even on like a number standpoint, 1 through 10 kind of thing. How likely are you to come back?
Yep.
But no, that's the biggest thing is like, I mean, it does suck. Trust me, you're gonna hear some shit. You're gonna see some shit. It's not gonna necessarily make you feel the greatest.
It doesn't feel good. Yeah,
it don't feel good. Trust me, it's not the best feeling. But the bigger thing is to understand that, especially if they're rebooking, or especially if they were really nice clients, that they're only telling you that to help you. You're going to have some assholes out there. Some people are just going to be rude to be rude. It's just what it is. But most of the clients, you'll be able to remember the group and go, well, these guys were really nice, really great clients, and this feedback is there just to help us. And you have to kind of understand that they're not going, oh, fuck you guys suck, I hated everything or whatever. They're just trying to help you grow. And that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but once you get it swallowed, it'll change your life.
And I think that's awesome that y'all are doing that, man. And again, like, I know I've already said it, but y'all are doing things that set you apart, especially at such a young age. And I'm excited to see kind of where that continues to take y'all. Really, we can start wrapping this up unless Logan, Hunter, y'all have anything else y'all want to cover. Hunter, my last thing is really just, are you excited about the season coming up?
I can't tell you how excited I am to get back in the duck blind. It was something to see the Platte, to hunt out of the big blind and the office chairs and all that on the Platte in teal season. We normally don't get to do that just because water levels and bird numbers just normally aren't there. But it made you itch. It sure got you started. I cannot wait to get back into the full swing of waterfowl and pheasant season, having clients in the lodge every 3 days and getting to meet new people. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I'm excited to be out there, man. Like Logan said, November 4th, man. I'm stoked. The
big circle.
The
on that day.
last thing that I'd say, back to like, what's gotten you the mentality that's gotten you to this point in the operation that you're running to level up to this point is just a refusal to accept mediocre, but also a refusal to be complacent and just assume that everything's going to be the same year after year and that it's generally good business. Like I think it's a general business principle, like that goes down to the foundation of any business, regardless of industry, is that, adapt or die mentality.
Mhm.
And us being here to educate outfitters on the fact that there are little things you can change that do make all the difference in the world is, just a big reason why we're doing this. So thank you enough just for that feedback, but also you outfitters
Yeah.
out there, you gotta take it to heart. You gotta change something or else it's just going to keep being the same.
Yeah, I'd agree
Definitely.
with that. I mean, it's a world that doesn't stop moving. Everything doesn't stop changing. So you have to move with the times. And so, as well said.
Yeah, ever evolving. Well, guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, please like, share, subscribe, share it with other outfitters that you think could benefit from this, whether they're just getting started or they've been around forever. And yeah, thank you for sticking around on the GuideTech podcast, episode number 22, and we'll see you next week for episode 23. Thank y'all.